Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. On today's episode we're going to preview the match against Geelong on Saturday night at the MCG. Looks like the weather's going to be good, perfect football conditions. It's going to be a packed house at the MCG. Let's get into it. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
Today's video is brought to you by New Homes Victoria, your local builder. Make sure you jump on Instagram and give their page a follow. Okay, so we've done our review against Essendon. We've spoken about our performance throughout the season in the last few videos that I've done. There's not really too much to talk about leading into the Geelong game. I think we've covered everything from our point of view. However, Geelong. Now, we know that they were able to get the win against Hawthorn. They played reasonably okay against them in patches and stuff, but I thought realistically their game against Carlton was, they looked sloppy, they looked slow, they looked lethargic, and I think Carlton actually manhandled them quite a few times throughout the game. There were times where Geelong looked like they were going to challenge and they got back within 2 goals, and then obviously Carlton just went bang, bang, bang. The biggest one obviously being Hewitt's goal at the end. That was a really good goal for them, and it sort of just, it put them away late when they were obviously, coming at them pretty hard. Bailey Smith, then you got Manor, you've got Humphreys, who I think Humphreys for Geelong is a gun, and then obviously Guthrie. They were probably their 4 best players. And then obviously you want to go towards like Jeremy Cameron, who kicked 4 goals. Their next highest goal scorer, I think, was Dempsey, and he kicked 2 goals. So realistically, if you're able to stop the impact of those players, then you're not going to be able to stop the impact of 4 players for Geelong, realistically. But you could definitely stop the impact that Bailey Smith has, and you could probably stop the impact that I reckon someone like Cam Guthrie would have on us. Bailey Smith tends to play well against us when he was at the Dogs. I remember back in 2022, he played really well against us. That game for Bulldogs at Marvel obviously didn't play against us in 2023, I believe. And then, yeah. So, my personal opinion is the way that Carlton played against Geelong is they were able to shut down Geelong's manic pressure. Geelong play not so much very similar to us, but if I had to pick a side in the AFL who would play football as closest to us as possible, Geelong would definitely be one of them. And that's because if you look at the way they play, especially down at Kardinia Park, they tend to play the wings really well. Then they obviously counter-attack a lot through the middle, and then they obviously look for Jeremy Cameron up forward. I do think Geelong's forward line, however, is a bit vulnerable at the moment. I think that there's too much sole focus on Jeremy Cameron, and with our defence and with Darcy Moore coming back, I think we should be able to stop the impact that their forwards have. The question is, can we stop the impact that their mids are having and their half-backs are when they push up? Against Geelong, I mean, you watched the game last season, it was pretty neck and neck, and then obviously they pulled away at the end. But we are a total different side to what we were last season. They only scored 76 points against Carlton in a dry, I want to say dry, it was probably like dewy and stuff like that, but in a relatively good conditioned weather day, they were able to only score 76 points against them. We scored 63 points against Carlton in miserable conditions in a very sloppy game, and we scored 15 behinds at the same time. So I think overall, matchup-wise, we should be able to cover them for this game. Now, there are some Collingwood players that I want to talk about in particular for this game that I think... one in particular that I think needs to lift, and there's one in particular that I think can absolutely own this game, and he's going to get a whole heap of the ball. But before I do, I bought this Darcy Moore bobblehead, right? And I'm looking at it, and it's catching my eye as I'm talking, and I feel like it looks more like Mark Blitzarves than Darcy Moore, and we're playing against Geelong this week. So I don't know what that means, but whatever. Anyway, let's get to the next point. So the Collingwood player that I want to really lift this game and own this game off the half-back line is Dan Houston. Now, we know, obviously, he came back from suspension. It was a wet, miserable day. And against Essendon, he got better as the game went on, and he found his feet a lot more. As I posted in my video yesterday, there was one of my mates who was able to talk to a few of the guys from the club, and they said that, the likes of Membry, Perryman and Houston, they're still getting used to the game style. Obviously, Houston's only played 4 games for us, so there's obviously going to be time for there needs to be more time for him to adjust to everything. But towards the back end of the season, he is going to be on fire. Now, that's great, but it's games like Geelong. When you look at our fixture, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the block that I've been speaking about for such a long time. Like, the Sydney, Brisbane, Essendon, Geelong block. We technically could go 4 from 4. Now, a pass mark 3 from 4, 100%, that's great. Anything less than that, I think, is a fail. But if we've got a real serious opportunity now to go 4 from 4 in this block, and then obviously we travel over to Fremantle, which I don't think is going to be much of an issue. However, if Geelong are going to come out firing this game, they've got Myers back as well. Houston needs to lift this game and really control that half-back line. Josh Dacos will be on the other half-back line, you'd think anyway. He's more of the, I'm going to grab the ball, I'm going to run, and I'm going to deliver it into the forward line, where Houston's more, I'm going to mark it between half-back and the wing. I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to bomb it long in, and it's going to bypass that whole section of the ground. Houston is a big kick. He may even mark it on the half-forward line and go for goal, or go for goal, or centre it down to a Membry, an Elliott, and potentially a Mason Cox if he comes in, which I'll touch on in a second. As I said before, Myers is back for Geelong, so that's a big in for them. He's fantastic pressure around the ball. His delivery is fantastic into the forward line. He kicks goals. He's sort of like, I don't know who you can compare him to in Collingwood's way, but I feel like he's a really young, like, on fire Will Hoskin-Elliott type who can play forward of the ball, behind the ball. He can play in the middle, and he can do all sorts of things. And I probably rate him a bit higher than obviously what Hosky is. But Myers is back for Geelong, which is going to be crazy. But yeah, my pie to lift this week is definitely Dan Houston. I just want to see him be like, right, have the game he had against Port Adelaide against his old sides. Like, now you're playing against another premiership contender who, funnily enough, if they lose this game, could potentially be out of the 8. But this is another premiership contender who's going to be there towards the pointy end of the season. You would think this is where we need to really stamp our authority. It's not doom and gloom if we lose this game, but it's a game that we should win. You look at the fixture coming up, you've got Fremantle, Adelaide, Hawthorn, North Melbourne, then we've got Melbourne, a bye, West Coast. We've got a period now where we can, if we win this game, there's no reason why we can't go towards over halfway through the season without dropping one. Now, people would say probably better that you did drop one sooner than later. I think we will, and I think we'll probably drop one against Hawthorn. They're our bogey team, so I've got that's okay to lose one game over there, but games against Geelong like this, these are the ones that you want to go on a Saturday night at the G, and you want to win. The Collingwood player who I think can absolutely own this game, and I loved the way that he played against Essendon, and people criticise him way too much with, I think he's so unfair, is Pat Lipinski. Now, we know that we play the wings well, and I said this in my review. He will get the ball Shane Warne's side of the ground. When this happens during the game, whether you're there or watching it, think about this video. He will get the ball on the Shane Warne side of the ground, and then, or it could be the Olympic side of the ground, like if you're looking down from the TV, so the opposing sides, and he will center the ball on his right foot after running from the wing on the half-forward flank. He will center the ball in on an angle to a leading forward in the hot spot. That's what he does, and that's what he does great. He did it against Essendon. He shanked one. We sort of got it back, but his possession, it's like when he's got the ball, I find that we're valuing our time with it. I feel like we're valuing what we're about to do. It's premeditated. It's a plan. and it works great. He's a fantastic runner, and I think he's severely underrated within the Collingwood structure. Now, Sidebottom's gone from... This is how much we rate him, like within the four walls. Sidebottom's having one of the seasons of his life. He's gone from the wing straight into the midfield, right? There's no spot for Sidebottom on the wing. They're keeping Lipinski on the wing. They're keeping Jack Cripps on the other wing. So he ran at only 20 disposals against Essendon, but at 85% disposal efficiency. So, and he had a bit of a clanger with one of them, which was quite obvious. I just think the link up between our boys and the way that Pat Lipinski is playing, taking into consideration the way that Geelong play as well, we're going to have that run and carry through Josh Dacos, through Pat Lipinski. I just think we're going to be a little bit too strong for him. My prediction is Geelong are going to come out firing because of what happened against Carlton. I do wish they had beaten them, obviously, because it's Carlton, but I just think they're going to come out this game and they are going to give us a really big scare in the first quarter and a half, but we're just going to hang on enough. And then we're going to roll up, we're going to push up, and we're going to do some damage, and we're going to suffocate them as much as we can. I'm more confident in this game than I have been for a lot of others. I just looked at the way that Geelong played against Carlton, and I didn't rate it. Personally, myself, I couldn't rate it. That's what I saw, and that's how I'm calling it. Anyway, Collingwood by 37 points in a big second half to really stamp our authority as, I'm not taking the lid off, but to stamp our authority as premiership favourites for a reason. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Call it as you see it. And as always, go the Pies.